Goodness gracious sakes alive, we are glad y'all joined us on another adventure. Today we will be checking out the oldest church in Virginia, St. Luke's Church, located near Smithfield. When you arrive, you will enter through the Welcome Center, which is also a gift shop. There are many unique and beautiful gifts to purchase if you're into that. For a guided tour inside the church, it costs $8 for adults, but we are AAA members, so it only costs $6 each. They also offer senior and military discounts. The tour is about 45 minutes and it is well worth it. I highly suggest taking the tour because inside the church is truly magnificent. There is between 300 to 500 unmarked 17th through 19th century human remains buried inside the church and around the church building, and hundreds more buried in marked grave sites. Some of the grave sites are so old that the grave markers are no longer legible. Those that are veterans of war are marked with a star stating which war they fought in. According to local tradition, the structure was built in 1632, but there has been controversy regarding this. There was a roof collapse in 1886 or 1887, and bricks were found with the date 1632 engraved in them, but some argue that the 3 is actually an 8, making the date 1682. Other evidence was found, and some are stating the date of 1682 and not 1632. Either way, this is a very old and beautiful church building. For nearly 200 years, historic St. Luke's Church was called the Old Brick Church. That seems to be the name of every church we've gone to so far. Our last video was Surrey Church, and it was also called the Old Brick Church. Historic St. Luke's is the oldest church of English foundation, the oldest continually standing brick structure, and the only surviving original Gothic building in this country. It was designated a National Landmark in 1960 and listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 1966. We walked all around the cemetery looking at all the old grave sites. Some are cracked and have moss growing on them, and the engravings are no longer legible, so we cannot determine the dates. But looking at them, you can tell that they are very, very old. As we go inside the church, there is a door within a door. Our guide opens up the small door within the big door, and we walk through it. This style door dates back to the 1200s and was usually used in homes. They are seen in old homes throughout Europe. If you take this guided tour, you will find out more interesting facts about the door, along with an extensive history of the church and renovation of the church. In 1953, St. Luke's Restoration started restoring the church because the walls and foundations were in need of extensive repairs. In 1957, it was fully restored and rededicated. Since the 1957 renovation, the organization has also repaired the 19th century stained glass windows, which are truly magnificent. Much of the credit for finishing St. Luke's construction goes to Captain Joseph Bridger, who arrived in the parish in 1657. He was one of the wealthiest men in colonial Virginia, a member of the Council of State to England's King Charles II, and he helped complete and outfit the church's interior. In recognition of his contributions to the church, Bridger's remains were eventually buried below the floor near the altar, where they are marked by his original stone slab. From its beginning, the church was built to house both government and religious functions for the surrounding community. The church was furnished with high box pews to provide seating for the general court of the colony in the 17th century. And the triple-level pulpit was built with a sounding board attached to the ceiling, which amplified speakers for court and church. An extensive study was also done on the English chamber organ that dates back to 1630. The organ was owned by the Lestrange family of Hudstaton Hall, Norfolk, England, for over 300 years. With the end of World War II, Hudstaton Hall was sold and the contents of the estate house were sold at auction in 1949. The organ was bought by Captain J. Lane, a collector of musical instruments. In the mid-1950s, historic St. Luke's Church was undergoing restoration and the organ was purchased from Captain Lane. When the organ arrived in Virginia, it was still somewhat playable. It has been on display at St. Luke's Church for over 50 years for people to come by and see and enjoy. I think national historic landmarks like this glorious old church building should teach and inspire us of the importance of our history. The majority of settlers came to America to gain religious freedoms. History, both the good and the bad, teaches us what our ancestors went through and endured so we could have the freedoms we have today in America. I'm thankful for the people that came before us that fought for the freedoms we have. I'm thankful for the men and women buried out in this cemetery that all have a story to tell. This church is over 300 years old. And I believe old churches like this one is a true symbol of American religious freedom. We thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like updates when more videos are posted, just click on the iris and rose icon on the last screen. Until next time, safe travels.